Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for another live reaction and player ratings live stream following Chelsea 0, Aston Villa 0. And because we live in the Stone Ages in England, even though I don't live in England, but you get the point, we now have to go through a replay. Now, Naishi over here, I'll get to him in a second. He's buzzing because he lives in Birmingham, so I might get to go to the game. But all of ourselves are not happy. The last thing we needed right now was another game. We have all the injuries in the world. And also, we played kind of pretty well, especially the first half. We'll get to talking about the second half, whether that was good or just decent. We'll get to that later. But the first half, I think we can all agree, was really, really good, except missing chances. But yeah, Palmer, I mean, he's just young, isn't it? That's the young player's inconsistency, because last game, he was the most composed man in the world. And today, he couldn't hit the barn door. Like, he literally missed the ball when he tried to volley it. That was a stinker. And Madueke, well... my boy Madueke, please, just why couldn't any of you lot score? But obviously we shouldn't forget Villa also had a goal disallowed. Now, rightly so, disallowed, but still. And they had a few chances as well. So it could have gone either way to some extent, I suppose. The problem is, and Pice, you put it in our group chat like that earlier, Villa at home are a bit like Newcastle. Away, you can absolutely beat them and get at them and whatever else. But at home, that is a little bit of a different ball game. And that's the part that concerns me a little bit. Like, If say we played another game at the Bridge now, obviously that would be unfair. I get that. But just pretend, right? We just did the whole thing again. I would back us to win. But away, it's a bit more tricky. Pice, I'll start with you. First of all, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it very much. What's the overwhelming sensation right now? Frustration that we had the chances that we had and failed to score. And now, therefore, in a replay, I guess there's also the positive that we didn't lose. What I think you tweeted, or did you say it in a group chat that, well, you said if we win, it's 10 unbeaten, but obviously we didn't lose, so it's still 10 unbeaten at home, which is pretty good going. So what's the overwhelming feeling right now for you, Pice?
I don't really know. I'm a bit frustrated the game goes to a replay, to be honest with you, because I think, at home I want to back to some penalties. I definitely wouldn't have liked extra time, but penalties would have probably been a good way. I think in these, especially because it's early round, like I don't mind replays if they do it later on in the competition or something.
Yeah.
But early round, it's tough to get up with that replay sort of decision. Yeah, it's hard. We dominated the first half. Even the second half, I thought we were pretty good. Villa probably had that. It was like a 10, 15-minute spell, sort of 75 minutes. Sort of like a 10-minute spell towards the end, maybe 70 minutes. Can't quite remember, but we were under pressure quite a bit. Petrovic made that really good save from Matty Cash. And we got caught with a high line. Villa played a high line. There was a few chances. Just a bit disappointing, really. The subs made no impact today. I think, Chilwell came on, didn't really notice him much. Mudryk was just oblivious. I forgot he was on the pitch. And obviously, Broja had that chance where, I'm sorry, but you're fighting to stay at the club, and you do that when you're pretty much through on goal. You take a massive touch, hits his knee or his leg or whatever, and it's just frustrating, really. And we're still unbeaten. We're 10 unbeaten at home, which is really, really surprising. We've done really well lately, but at the end of the day, you look at this fixture in isolation, and you think we've now got to go to somewhere where they're incredibly good at. I draw the comparison to Newcastle, 18 games unbeaten. If that's true, I knew it was something like that. They're very good at home. And
could it be that we are 18 games unbeaten there? We're not, right? That's not what they're saying.
No, I think, they're 18.
When did we last lose at Villa? Last season, probably, because we lost every game last season. But that's besides the point. I assume they are 18 unbeaten, right?
Yeah, it's going to be really tough, because that game will be completely different. Villa will have, not all of the ball, but they'll have way more attacks. They'll put us under way more pressure. And I was even speaking to someone who I know on Twitter, he supports Villa, and he was like, I'm confident at home now. I don't like us playing away, but at home we're really good. And I was like, great, because like we're usually sort of, well, we're hit and miss anyway, but going to tough away grounds, I just feel like we might sink, but we'll see. I've no idea when that game is as well. It could be in the middle of a really tight schedule, so it's not ideal to play another game. That's probably the most annoying thing, because I think the performance overall wasn't even too bad. Like I'm not annoyed. Like, I think we played all right, but yeah, we're punished because we punish ourselves. You know, we miss too many chances and too many situations we mess up on. Like, Gallagher could have had a nice cutback, which he just didn't look up and smashed it into the box. You know, obviously Palmer's misses, Madueke's miss. We're our own worst enemies sometimes, a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Naishi, I'll get to you. First of all, thank you for joining us for the first time. You said it there, because you live in Birmingham, it's kind of a bit of a, what's the right word to use? Like, blessing in disguise, I suppose, that we now have to go through this replay because you might get to go to a sick game. But Villa away, like L9, by the way, thank you for the super chat and now for clarifying. 18 games unbeaten at home. Not ideal, that is it. So how do you feel about today's game, and how do you feel about us having to go into a replay? And do you back us to win that, or do you think the odds have changed drastically after not winning tonight?
Now, first of all, thank you for letting me join your stream. Yeah, and also thanks as well. Just on the game and the possibility of going to Villa as well. I think our form is definitely starting to pick up, and I think, in a way, I know it's going to be difficult at Villa Park. It's a tough ground. It's really, as that stat came off, 18 games unbeaten. That's a pretty scary stat. But I'm starting to believe. I'm starting to see a turn in Chelsea, and especially a mood around the ground, around the fan base. We're starting to pick up results. We're starting to score a lot more goals. Scoring was a major problem last season, last 2 seasons even. So I think we're starting to pick up momentum, and I do have a lot more hope this time going to Villa Park. I really do think, especially coming into this game, we only had 3 days rest, which really came into fruition in the second half. I felt that we kind of slowed down the pace there. But back to your question about, do I have hope? I definitely do have a lot more hope than 18 months ago.
That is valid. And to be fair, I mean, someone put it there. Villa have to lose at home sooner or later. They're not going to be unbeaten forever. So I guess from that perspective, the longer they are unbeaten, the more likely they are to eventually lose. I guess that is one positive way to spin it. So I do like that. It's a tough one. Obviously, I agree with what you just said, Naishi, in terms of, we've improved our goal scoring. Unfortunately, we forgot it again tonight. that was obviously the problem. Now, let me bring up the lineup, and I'll stick with you, Naishi, for a second. Obviously, just to clarify it, Levi Colwill was supposed to start at left back. Dizazi was supposed to start at right back, and Badiashile and Thiago Silva were supposed to be the 2 centre backs. But unfortunately, Levi Colwill picked up an injury during warm-up. Now, he had quite a heavily bandaged or strapped up knee already going into the warm-up. So I'm purely speculating. I have no idea if this is the case, but that feels to me maybe let's see if he can play, do the warm-up, see how he feels. And during the warm-up, he or they realized he can't, and that's why they made the change. Maybe that's how it was, rather than picking up an actual injury during warm-up. I don't know. But Alfie Gilchrist is our Lord and Savior anyway, so in my opinion, he should start all the time. But Naishi, I'll stick with you. False 9 today. Palmer up top, Sterling on the wing, Madueke on the right, Gallagher behind Palmer, a little bit of interchange between those two. A little bit of, I say a little bit, reminiscing off that Arsenal game where we bottled it at the end. But the first half in particular was, maybe I wouldn't say a carbon copy of it, but there was a lot of similarities in the sense that our press just absolutely destroyed the opponent, right? Like, they could not hack it at all. And so now the question is, right, could we sit there and say, if only we had a striker, then we would have scored 15 goals tonight. But if we had a striker, would we have pressed the way we did? Would we have even had all these chances? Because it feels a bit like that Arsenal game. I know we obviously scored 2 goals in that game, but one was a freak, kind of accidental goal, kind of meant goal by Mudryk. What was the other? Was there a penalty by Palmer? So, it's not like we scored and created normal goals from open play. And that's what it felt like again today. We almost play better with Palmer as a striker in terms of, maybe we've only done it twice, right? So who knows if this would happen every time. But at least with the little sample size that we have, it feels like we play better, but we then struggle again to score goals. It almost feels like when you put Palmer up front, it's like, not that Palmer is anything like Kai Havertz, but then we have the issues like when we had Kai Havertz. It's ridiculous. So what do you make of this? Because like I said, it worked really well in terms of how we played, but it didn't really lead to chances. But how do you see it? Do you think if we either played a striker or had a striker today, the game goes the same way? Or do you think Palmer being up front changed quite drastically why we played so well?
You know what? With Palmer up front, I think he's a very intelligent player. He knows when to set a press. That's why we tend to have a lot of chances when Palmer's there. And I feel like he really sets certain traps. He pushes the opponent to make uncomfortable passes. And I think that's the advantage of Palmer being up front. The only problem is when Palmer is in those positions, I don't think he has enough time. That's probably why he probably misses a lot of chances when he's in that position. So I think it's kind of a double-edged sword where, okay, we probably create more chances and we have a better press and we get more chances in a way. But Palmer tends to miss those chances because he doesn't have that time and he's not really from the right or from deeper areas. And I felt like we really sat in Villa's half the first half. We were really dominant in that first half, and I was really impressed. Even though we didn't score, I really was impressed with the tactical approach. And I was a bit worried about the Badiashile side because I think Badiashile's got a mistake in him. That's the only... when I first seen him, I felt like he was very comfortable. I was very relaxed. But lately, he's had a few mistakes in him, and he probably needs to iron that out. And Gilchrist as well, I was quite happy with that. He's kind of dependable. These past, 4 games, he's a very good player. So the only issue is the attack side of Gilchrist, but I love the player. He's young and he's hungry. You can see the John Terry in him.
So up for it, man. I love how he's up for it all the time. So, I know, like I say this many times, right? I am a little bit of a passion merchant, fully admit that. But I love it. Like, he's literally a definition of a passion merchant. That is also good, right? But, like, he just loves it. Like, I tweeted during the game, if Gilchrist scores today, I fully expect him to headbutt the advertising board. Like, he is so into it. I absolutely love it. Let me get to you, Pice. Lineup. Obviously, touch on Chilwell's injury as well if you want to. But otherwise, what did you make of the team? I guess Enzo and Casado isn't exactly surprising. Gallagher coming back in isn't surprising either. But the front three, and obviously the back four, we don't have another choice, right? Gusto's injured, Chilwell wasn't fit to start, and then that Chilwell injury, this was literally all we had available. So you can't really complain about it. But yeah, especially what did you make of that front three, the Palmer up front decision? Like, you know, Broja didn't have to be rested, I assume, right? So this was a conscious choice to not play a striker. How, in hindsight, would you say that went? And similar question to what I said, put to Naishi. Do you think if we had a striker, would we have played as well? Or do you think we only played as well because of the way Palmer and Gallagher kind of played together up front?
Yeah, it's a difficult question to answer because obviously playing Palmer up front didn't, result in a win. He missed the most amount of chances. But I did like the fluidity of our attack. Like, we did have a lot of attacks. Like, we were sustaining pressure quite well. And, this is the thing with, like, even signing a new striker, which I know we're going to do, in the summer or maybe even now. But even when Broja starts or when Broja comes on, it's like, so if we start a false 9, it's like, okay, we need a striker on the pitch, right? We had this as well, kind of with Kai Havertz. He wasn't really a striker. It was like, we need a striker. But Havertz, like, as you said, pressed well and, the fluidity was better, right? But when we have a striker on, it's like, oh, we need to have more fluidity. Like, we need to have something else. It's really frustrating to know what we need. And it's like, if we sign Osimhen, I'm thinking more to the future here, but it's like, everyone's talking about, like, we need this penalty box striker. We just need someone in the box. But if we have that guy, and we've had this in the past with Lukaku, right? It's like, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you're more predictable. Sometimes you're less fluid. It's like, what do we do? We just go around in circles and circles, and it's frustrating because, I tweeted, I think we miss Jackson a lot, and a lot of people are like slandering me. But if Jackson's got a good amount of goals, but the way I say we miss him is because he's playing striker, but he's actually acting as kind of like not like a false nine, but like the way he drops
He kind
deep.
of does what Palmer does, but still is a striker.
Yeah, but still is a striker. And
Yeah.
obviously he's raw and obviously he's missed chances. But I just think with when Broja comes on, it's like he's too much.
I agree.
He's too much of an out-and-out striker. But then, like, isn't that like what we're looking for? It's frustrating. I don't know, man. It does my head in sometimes because I'm like, like with this current team, like everyone's like on social media, and even I think it. We all think it. Get that penalty box striker. When we start a penalty box striker like Broja, who has attributes that should succeed here, like I don't know, maybe he's just not very good anymore. But like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
maybe.
He's that target man. Like he's that actual striker. He's got the better ball striker than Jackson. We start him or bring him on, and we're like, oh no, the striker's not working. It's like I'm just fed up of it. It's just so like annoying. So yeah, that's my main frustration with the lineup, and why I don't have a frustration with the lineup, because whoever we play up front, it's like it doesn't, like, there's still like an issue there, isn't there? Like whether we play a false nine, whether we play an out and out striker. So that's what frustrates me. But the rest of the team, I was actually surprised that Gallagher didn't play deeper today, and maybe Carney is the number 10. I don't know if Carney's ready to start, but there was a little bit of talk about it. Perhaps he was pushing for a start. He's been in training. Enzo and Caicedo just played 90 minutes 3 days ago. And similar.
They looked good today again, though, I thought.
Yeah, they did, but I'm a bit worried about that Liverpool game, with the amount of energy Liverpool are going to come at us with. It's only in, a few days. So
we played on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, Palmer starting was, again, a little bit odd considering he played 90 minutes. Odd that he played 90 minutes, to be fair, in that game. Like, I know he did well, but he could have come off after a certain point. I thought Sterling and Mudryk would maybe play with Broja up front, but then I was also conscious of, I have a feeling that Broja didn't start today because of the whole transfer thing. Like, if he starts and he gets injured, the move's off. Like, I know there's talks going on with other clubs, so maybe that played into the thinking. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what we do, because this
but
team,
Senegal ain't getting knocked out anytime soon. So is the plan, like, if Broja does leave, and like, I don't know. I mean, obviously that's the Callum Wilson chat. We can quickly talk about it, because with obviously my whole moving flat thing, I've not really had time for like normal transfer news stream. Do you think that there's something in that price, like potentially Callum Wilson as like a short-term fix?
I mean, it's not. How old is he? He's definitely not young, but he is not. He's not the sort of player I would expect this ownership.
31, turns 32 in February.
Oh, blimey! Okay, he's a lot older than I thought. Yeah. To be fair, he's not the type of player that I think the ownership would go for, but I think it makes sense, to be fair. Like, someone of his mold that has scored goals in the Premier League. Yeah, he's injury prone, but if we have Nkunku back and we have Jackson and stuff, then maybe it's not the worst idea. I'm not saying it has to be him, but someone in that realm, someone a little bit older, more experienced, because these John Duran links are just absurd. Like, I do not care if he's talented. We do not need that guy right now. We don't need a player of his mold. Like, we need someone that can come in and score a few goals, be like a Giroud signing. It's...
That's why I wouldn't mind Benzema, because people talk about, but Benzema is 36. I'm like, but Giroud is 37, and look what he's doing at Milan.
Yeah, I would love Benzema. Obviously, some
he just
people
earns too much, innit? Like, it's just
his wages. We have that whole wage structure thing where we're trying to keep it down. That's just not happening on a short-term thing. I'd be very shocked. I don't know what we're going to do up front. But if Broja goes, we're definitely going to do something. And I just hope it's not another raw player. Like, I'd like someone like Callum Wilson, because he's proven in the Premier League. He's improved.
So injury prone. Like, if he wasn't injury prone, now if he wasn't injury prone, that we probably wouldn't stand a chance to sign.
But he won't start anyway, will he? You'd probably still play Jackson up front, probably. Like, Wilson's better, but Jackson would probably start because of the whole project and that sort of thing. So.
That's a tough question. That is a tough question. Who would start between those two? I guess that is the option. It's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, Neshi, I'll come back to you. A lot of what Pai said, I completely agree with. This is also my worry with Osimhen, right? Like, that's exactly what Pai talked about. Like, you think, we want a box striker, proper finisher, and this and that. Obviously, Osimhen does a lot of other things too, and he makes runs in behind, and he holds the ball up. But obviously, he's way, way better than Broja, I'm aware. but stylistically, he's very similar type of striker to what Broja is. And now, obviously, because of how much better he is, it could work. But how many strikers of that mold have we had that haven't worked? Now, I understand we have different players behind them, different managers, different ownership now as well. So everything's very different. I understand. But if we sign Osimhen, if we do that this summer, you're not going to find me sat here on a stream like this, bouncing up my chair. You're not going to see me because I'm going to be too cautious that it flops. Because just too many of these huge signings, especially up front, have flopped. That's my big worry. But let's get back into tonight, shall we? Let's start with these player ratings. Otherwise, we're going to be sat here forever. Before that, Aziz King with the super chat. Appreciate it very much. He says, to be honest, we need a striker. Our board are just useless. Now, I agree in a way, especially that they are useless, and also that we need a striker. The problem is who, right? To me, there is no perfect option. Sure, you can say Benzema, but then you have the wages. You can say Callum Wilson, but then you have being injury prone. Then you say someone younger, but then you say, what's the point if we want Osimhen in the summer, right? So there isn't really a simple, perfect solution to the situation. People mention Vlahovic. Even if he's good, you're never going to hear out of me that I want Vlahovic. You're just going to have to deal with that. Is what it is. But let's get into focusing on today's game. And let's start with Petrovic in goal. I am a big fan. And that save from that Matty Cash shot, first of all, for a right back to shoot with the left foot, that's a good effort. Fair play. But what a save. Absolute wonder save, in my opinion. Made a couple of other decent saves too. His passing out from the back was very strong too. Don't really recall him making a mistake. Unlike Emi Martinez on the other side. Now, unfortunately, Cole Palmer didn't take the chance. But, Petrovic making no mistakes like Emi Martinez on the other side. I am very happy with him. I think that big save, keeping a clean sheet, warrants an 8. Naishi, would you agree? What would you give Petrovic? And obviously, I'm not sure how many of these streams you've seen in the past, but goalie rating is almost a little bit different to outfielder rating. It's not if you think Petrovic wasn't the best player on the pitch, I agree. But this might not necessarily mean that someone gets a higher rating just because goalie's a bit different.
Honestly, Laurenz, I'll just add to your point. I'm really impressed with Petrovic, honestly. This is the first time in a long time that I feel comfortable with a goalkeeper. Post trauma I've had with Kepa, Mendy towards the end of his Chelsea career. Honestly, Petrovic I really have good hopes with Petrovic. And that save, I seen that replay of it was right in the bottom corner. He's stretching. That was a top-notch save. I think that's the main reason that it was a 0-0 game, because both goalkeepers are good standard. And really, I think Sanchez should worry about his position, because honestly, I think he's really impressed me. And I would go along with that save pushes it to 8. I would agree with you on the 8 as well. I really think he's impressed. Even his passing, his passing out is really impressive. He doesn't really make any mistakes. I can't even think of any mistakes he's actually made.
No, the only mistake that I can think of was literally his first game. Remember when Sanchez came off at Everton? And then that 2-0 we conceded, that was a bit of a mistake from him. But ever since then, I don't think he's done a single thing wrong.
Honestly, he hasn't made a mistake. Yeah, the Everton game did pop up in my head. But it wasn't a absolute mistake, that the worst mistake.
And even if it was, right, it was his first minute in the Premier League and he had to come on as a sub. You would let him off for that one, even if it was a bigger mistake, right?
Exactly, yeah. So, in my eyes, an 8 is definitely deserved.
Fair dues. Pice, let me come to you. Obviously, your rating is what I want to know, but also, do you also feel like me that obviously Petrovic just, I can't remember when did Sanchez get injured? Obviously at Everton, but when was that? Mid-December, late December, right? Do you also feel that in all these games that he's played since then, that his passing has also improved? Maybe not necessarily that he got better at it, but in terms of that he slowly built up his own confidence and now tries a few more of the slightly more difficult passes, but he's pulling them off all the same. I'm a big fan. Now, didn't go back to Sanchez. Was Sanchez on the bench today?
No.
I mean, he was sat in the dugout, but he's still injured, Jay. Because I think he will go back to Sanchez, even though I think he shouldn't. But yeah, Petrovic passing, Petrovic safe, Petrovic rating. Tell me.
A massive fan, to be fair. Echoing what you guys have said. Really, I put a tweet. I think it's been a great signing. Can't lie. You have to give massive credit to the directors on this one because, I remember when we signed him, I was like, 14 million MLS. I was like, you know what, this is probably just another a project signing, whatever. We might not see him. You kind of brush it under the carpet, especially because you have so many signings nowadays.
Honestly, I did. I'll be honest.
Mate, to be fair, honestly, some of these signings you don't know who is for the first team, who's for what nowadays. I remember when we signed Ugo Chukwu, I was like, well, he's never playing
never
for
see
us.
him again. Yeah,
and he started playing for us. So it's really funny, but he's really good. I agree. I feel like Poch will go back to Sanchez, but I don't think he should. The thing is with Sanchez, it's he a lot of people say, oh, he makes me panic. I'm not on that same sort of panic level with him. He's made mistakes with his feet, but I think they're both good with their feet. Maybe Petrovic is a bit better, but can
I jump in quickly and you can say what you think of that? I agree with you. I think Sanchez is actually good with his feet. I think Petrovic is just better at judging when and when not to take risks.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also Sanchez sometimes hits the ball. He'll smash the ball at Enzo or Caicedo or one of the fullbacks. And, I feel like Sanchez puts players a little bit under pressure. Whereas obviously Petrovic doesn't. From what I've seen, he's very sort of calculated in making the pass. I do think they're both, good shot stoppers. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, really, really good players, Petrovic, and surprised me a lot. I got a little bit excited about him, when I started reading up a little bit because I see a few accounts, Alex Goldberg in particular, obviously, from American stuff. He was like, no, trust me, he is everyone was saying he's the best goalie in the MLS. And I was like, well, that doesn't really mean much.
Exactly. What does that mean?
Yeah, but clearly it means quite a bit because he's been decent. He does actually. I remember, I can't remember who posted it, but someone posted he's I don't know whether it's expected goals saved or shots or whatever it is, some advanced stats, and they were really high. So I was like, this could actually be quite an interesting one. But for my rating, I'll give him a 7.5 because what I will say is he did flap at the end, and if Konsa scored that, it's kind of his fault. But luckily he didn't. From the corner, Konsa had the volley, he kind of flapped that one. It was a bit. That was the only moment, I think, maybe. Yeah, but overall,
I think that's a fair point.
I think for me, I'm not going to give too many high ratings. So this is actually a pretty high rating for this game for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm going to give out actually a couple of higher ratings, but we'll get to it. Obviously, you've made me question now whether I want to say 7.5 because of that flap, which I forgot about. But I still think the main save that we spoke about was so impressive that I'll stick to the 8. And we move on from there. Before we go into the defender ratings, some news from the press conference. Positive news for once. Poch said Levi Colwell's injury is not serious. Now, what does that mean? He said that about Ugo Chukwu and about Lavia and about all of them, and they're never to be seen again. Or about Nkunku, right? So that doesn't necessarily mean that he won't be out for a month. But at least he's not going to be out for 6 months, I suppose. It is a positive in that sense. But let's get back to the defenders and, keep it simple. Start with Thiago Silva. Pice, I'll let you go first. First of all, the one thing I want to say, that yellow card he got early in the game, one of the worst decisions I've ever seen. There's often big decisions like a goal or offside not given or a red card that was wrong and stuff. Obviously, we're not talking about those decisions. But in terms of your normal football decision, Thiago Silva was fouled. You could even argue that the other guy maybe could have seen a red. Not that I think so, but I think the red card Malo Gusto got back in September was less of a red card than that foul. And instead, the ref booked Silva. Ridiculous. But yeah, in general, I think Thiago Silva was very good. But what rating would you give him and how would you summarize his performance, Pice?
I thought he was solid. I need to rewatch something because someone said to me on Twitter that I can't remember who was it that had a shot. I think Tielemans had a shot, and apparently, if he scored that, it would have been Silva's fault. I can't remember the sequence, but I don't know. But he was pretty solid overall. I'd say. Surprised again. He started. To be fair, not like we got much options, but
it's true. We didn't. Literally didn't have another option, but. even without Colwell's injury, he was always going to start anyway. Let's say Colwell doesn't get injured, you could have left Thiago Silva out, but no, he would have then left Gilchrist out. Do you know what I mean? The 39-year-old playing every flipping game, and this club still thinks it's a good idea to not offer him a new contract. I'm still not sure what his personal stance is, whether he would like to stay or not, but I still firmly believe that if he is willing to, we must keep him for another year. Now, we've said for the last 3 years in a row, yeah, but next year he won't play anymore anyway. Yeah, but first of all, that still hasn't happened. And then second of all, what's wrong with him being here and only playing once every 3 or 4 or 5 games? I think it would be amazing. But anyway, I don't know what you were referring to, or as in, I don't have it in mind in terms of did he make a mistake there or not. But what rating does very solid come up to? We still, we played the team. What league position of Villa? 3rd or 4th? We kept the clean sheet against them, so it's not half bad. And it was their strongest 11, unlike ours.
Yeah. Individual rating, I don't know. I'll probably go 6.5, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll start it off with the 6.5, see what the boys say. Naishi, continue for me. Thiago Silva, do you agree with price of 6.5? Would you go a bit higher? Spoiler, I will go a little bit higher. Not crazy higher, but a little higher. What would you say, mate?
I'll go higher. Honestly, Thiago Silva, he's a legend. I know Pies likes him as well. But honestly, Thiago Silva, we need him for another season. Because at the beginning of the season, I was maybe in the camp saying maybe one more season, as in this current season should be. That's it. But
I hear you.
During the season, as the games went on and as the season goes on, the guy is just something else. I don't know what he eats or what he does at home to stay so fit. He plays every game. He's so calm. The only maybe issue I say when he's instructing, I don't know if he's speaking English or Portuguese. So I don't know how much instructions he's actually laying out. But the guy, honestly, we should build a statue of him. He's how many seasons has he done now? What, 3, 4?
It's his 4th, isn't it?
Yeah, 4th season. The guy is something else. Honestly, I love him to bits. Honestly, he's a legend to me. But in terms of this game, I'd give him a 7. He was the best defender out of the 4 defenders, I believe. And he done a couple good blocks. I think 1 corner and also 1 second ball. So he's great with the second balls. He's I don't know.
That was also the one, if you remember, when McGinn nearly scored at the end, and for a second you thought nearly Thiago Silva scored an own goal. But really, Thiago Silva kind of stopped John McGinn from scoring.
Exactly. His positioning. I would say him and John Terry's positioning is on par, honestly. It reminds me so much of John Terry in terms of positioning anyway. I would actually even say his ability on the ball is probably better than John Terry's. I know, and John Terry was a good passer.
Yeah.
But honestly, I would give 7 just for today's game though. And I think
it's fair. See, maybe today is one of those days, and the chat have a go at me many times for me being negative or giving too low ratings or whatever else. Well, except for Mudryk and Broja, then they always shout at me for giving too high ratings. But anyway, I'm going to go quite high for all the ratings until we get to the forwards, because I genuinely thought the defenders and midfielders were brilliant. I understand that Villa then had a few periods where they were on top and then had chances, but Villa are a really good team. Villa are in the top 4 right now. There's nothing to be ashamed about with them having a little bit of a period of being on top and having a few chances. They're a strong team with a great manager with a full squad, right? They are their strongest 11. We have a whole 11 out injured. Do you know what I mean? So I would even say 7.5, which overall leaves us at a 7.
I probably agree with a 7, to be fair.
Okay, no, that's fair. Overall, still remains at a 7 anyway. But yeah, there you go. Pies pushed his rating up. Move on to Axel Disasi. Now, my favorite thing about this whole game, about this whole game for Disasi, was then later on in the game when he had actually moved to right back after Ben Chilwell had come on for Alfie Gilchrist. And Disasi was on the absolute sprint on that right wing and then didn't quite get the ball. And then Emi Martinez had come out of his goal. He's with the ball. And then you see Axel Disasi just flying in like an absolute madman. In a way, I love him. In a way, I still find it an absolutely pointless signing because I'm could just be Chalobah. But then at the same time, Chalobah hasn't been fit. But then has he? Could it be PR? I don't know. But honestly, I thought all of the defenders, except maybe Badiashile, but we'll get to him in terms of how much do we let him off first game at left back and everything. We'll get to that. But I thought Disasi was good at centre back. I thought Disasi was good at right back. I would personally also give him a 7.5. I know, Nation, you said you thought Thiago Silva was the best defender. Fair play. For me, they were all on a very similar level. They were all just good. As a team, I just thought we were really good. We pressed well as a team, and that included the defenders. I thought we were aggressive. We won so many. Whenever Villa punted it, because we kind of suffocated them with our press, and they didn't see another way other than playing it long. We won all those headers. We won so many second balls, and that comes to a lot of the defenders, the fullbacks, and the centre mids as well. So that's why I was so happy with them, and that's why I'm going quite high with the ratings. But Neshi, if you say Thiago Silva was the best for you, I assume you have to give this Disasi at least a 6.5, maybe pushing it at a 7. But how do you see it?
I'd say 6.5 for Disasi. Honestly, he's starting to as well improve his performances. Honestly, at the beginning of the season, well, even last season, I felt his pace not quite there, but he's quite quick when I really look at him run. Like, his pace is there, and he hasn't really showed it in the past, and he's really impressed me these last, I'll say, 4 or 5 games since that Luton game, and he's starting to get some consistency as well. And I would actually say I know Laurenz, you're saying he might have been a pointless signing, but I kind of think we've needed him because, as you said, Chalobah, we're not sure whether it was PR or a genuine, like, long-term injury.
Yeah, you're right. If he was genuinely out injured, then we needed Disasi. That is fair.
Yeah. So I think he's really getting on my good side. He used to make me a bit nervous all the time. Well, pretty much all the time. But now he's really starting to pick up. He's starting to understand. And maybe these players are starting to gel. And maybe I'm quite happy this transfer market is quiet because this really needs to gel. And look, Disasi is kind of proof of that now he's starting to get that consistency in his game.
Yeah, you're not even wrong. You're not even wrong. Like, there's days and times where I think like this does just calm it down a little bit. But when the whole rest of the team is kind of going along with being super aggressive, being super on it, then it really works. And, in that case, I rate it. Fair enough. You said 6.5. I said 7.5. Overall, leaving us at a 7.4 now. Pice, do you also agree that Thiago was better than Disasi, or would you give him the same? What did you make of Disasi today?
I think Disasi's been solid lately, to be fair. Yeah, I was probably going to go 6.5. I think, I don't know, like, I know we defended well, but it's hard for me to judge because, like, it's one of those games where we were so on top that obviously you notice the attackers more, you're more critical on them, and the defenders did well, but we didn't have, like, loads of situations where we had to defend, if that makes sense. So I feel like 6.5 is fair. I think he did quite well. It was nice to see Gilchrist actually play right back instead of Disasi, although obviously last game he did very well there. But yeah, I think it worked a bit better, to be fair, today. Yeah, I mean, I think he's been solid. I think with Disasi, sometimes he's overhated, I would say. Like, he definitely does get, like, scapegoated a little bit. Sometimes he's been poor, but overall, I think he's been pretty solid, to be fair. Like, there's not really been, like, for 40 million as well. And the thing is, as well, is I don't think he's going to be a starter long term. Like, I still feel like he was brought in to be sort of a, like one of the regulars, but not play like start. You know what I mean? Like, he started pretty much most games under Pochettino. To be fair, like and
if everyone's fit, he probably won't.
Yeah, and for that case, I think he's going to be overall quite a good signing for us.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Overall, a 7.5 and 2 6.5 leave us at 6.8. So that's still a 7, unfortunately. We move on. Let's do Alfie Gilchrist first and save the slightly more negative chat for Benoit Badiashile. I see Mason talking about here. Gilchrist 5 wasn't very good for me. By far his most underwhelming performance. Mason, I have to say, that is slander, and you are lucky you're not being imprisoned. How are you saying this about our Lord and Savior, please? How are you saying this? Nah. Now, do I really want to put a goat emoji here? Yes. But if I'm being honest, I thought he was really good, except that maybe he struggled a little bit to get into duels. Also, when you look at his stats, he didn't have any ground duels, which is a bit strange. But otherwise, I thought it was brilliant. Like, he had only misplaced 2 passes. He had 46 out of 48 completed passes. One of them was an outrageous over-the-top ball to Raheem Sterling, by the way. Now, Emi Martinez came out of his goal really well, so Sterling didn't get there. But I still don't think that means it was not a great ball. I still think it was a great ball, just good goalkeeping. And I would, maybe I won't go quite as high as the other 2, even though I want to. But for me, that obviously still means a 7. So maybe you boys will lower it down. That's absolutely fine. But yeah, I love him. I thought he was fantastic. Especially, you can't forget, he wasn't even supposed to play. Like, he only found out, oh shit, I'm starting during the warm-up. You know, I think that should maybe slightly be included into our thinking, not necessarily of our rating, but in terms of what people think of him. Or think of his performance today. I think that you shouldn't forget that either. But I'll go with you first. I said 7. Do you think it's too high? What would you give Gilchrist today? And what do you make of him?
I think he was good. I agree with you. Something I noticed, the way he uses both his feet so comfortably.
Yeah.
You know, you said that in the chat. I was like, it's so true. Like, he does seem really comfortable. And you know, when I didn't know too much about him because I don't really watch the academy that much anymore. But you know, I'd heard some things about him mainly through Felix Johnson, obviously. He follows the youth. But yeah, I mean, when he came on, what game did he come on? Was it Crystal Palace, his first game? I was like, you know, I've got like a soft spot for him. Like, you know, he's really passionate about the club. Obviously, you can see that. But most importantly, he seems like a solid player. And let's not forget, he's actually a centre back. Like, he's playing right back, but he's actually a centre back for the youth team. So it's pretty impressive what he's doing. Like, he's not doing anything like outstanding, but he's not doing anything wrong. He's been solid every time he's played, and he's been a great sub for us off the bench. You know, even if he's playing a couple of minutes, like, I won't forget that tackle at Luton. You know, they were absolutely peppering us down that left-hand side with Doherty or whatever his name is. Gilchrist came on and you know, absolutely like the way he won that tackle in that pressure. Like, he seems ready for our first team. Like, a lot of youth players, you know, you'll see come through and you think, okay, yeah, they're decent prospects, not quite ready yet. He seems ready. I will say he's ready because he's definitely shown it. And as you said, wasn't even planned to start. Like, plays, you know, starts, nothing phases him, doesn't seem nervous, you know, doesn't have any shaky moments. Like, it's just solid. He does seem pretty solid, and he'll get tested more, you know, in his Chelsea career going forward. But early signs looking really good, and yeah, you know, he's the captain for a reason in the youth team. So yeah, obviously he's highly thought of, and be interesting to see how much Pochettino used him, because I think Pochettino quite likes him and clearly trusts him. In this game, I'll give him a 7.
Okay.
I think he was our joint best defender today. I think he was good.
Fair dues. Nicely. Gilchrist 2-7 so far. So you've got a bit of a tough ask if you want to change the rating. But you said already in the kind of at the beginning when we spoke about the lineup that you're a big fan of him. What did you make of him today? Do you think a 7 is warranted? Would you maybe go a little bit lower than that, considering you said Thiago was your best defender and you gave him a 7?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to give him a 6.5 because, as I said, Thiago Silva was the best in that back line. But I love Chris. Honestly, the guy is reliable. Like, honestly, and for someone to come in and, as you guys said, is naturally a centre back and playing right back, and he's just filling in, and we really need him actually. And he's got old shoulders on his head. Like, he's honestly very reliable, and I was so close to saying a 7, but I think I might stick with a 6.5. And the only reason why I would say 6.5, because I felt like that link-up play with Madueke was just not there, and there's a few wayward passes, but than that, and that, as you said, that through ball to Sterling over the top, I was like, whoa, I don't know that with his left foot or right foot. I don't know what he did. That was amazing. Yeah, so I in that Luton game, I think whether it was Crystal Palace or Luton game, I'd give him a 10 in that game. In those other games,
yeah, literally.
we needed him in those games. I think if he never came on, I think Luton would have equalised. But for the game specifically, I would say 6.5. But he's got a bright future. The only issue, and this is not his fault, is his height. I would say in centre back. That's the only worry I have.
Can I quickly touch on that, Neji? Because I had the exact same opinion, right? And I was like, yeah, but should he maybe consider changing what his natural position is or what his main position is? Because I feel like, is he ever going to be tall enough for being a centre-back? But then I've seen some more pictures, and he's basically the same height as Thiago, maybe even ever so slightly taller. He's just really slim still. But because he's young, I'm like, there is a chance he still like gets a bit broader, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do get that. Hopefully, and that's the only maybe thing I have only concern of him is just literally his height, and he can't do that. But he's got a bright future, and yeah, long may it continue.
Absolutely. And hey, obviously at some point we'll probably sell him for pure profit because that's what ownership does. But hey, if he's for a significant period going to be our right back backup because Reece James and Malagusta will forever be always injured, I'll take it. Do you know what I mean? I'll take it. Big up Alfie Gilchrist. I quickly want to highlight this comment here by Thomas, who says, why did Gilkey, which is, I'm not sure if I fully agree with his nickname, but I'll go with it. Why did Gilkey get subbed? What do we think of that? Now, Pice, you touched on it a lot earlier that the subs really didn't work, and maybe we shouldn't say made us worse, but they certainly didn't give us, like Neji said this at the beginning, you felt as the game went on that we played 3 days ago and Villa didn't. And usually that's the point of the subs. You bring on fresh legs so you don't lose that kind of sharpness as the second half progresses. But that didn't really happen. I personally would have taken off Badiashile, not because I thought Badiashile was necessarily awful, we'll get to him in a second, but just because I felt Gilchrist was doing well at right back. Just bring Chile on at left back rather than shifting everybody's position. It just felt like an easier, more natural change rather than having the whole back four have to shift across. I don't know, but guys, what did you think? It's like one of those. Poch subs him off because he's the youngest one. It's a tough game. They're putting us under pressure. I get it. But I personally wouldn't have done that. But how do you see it? Like Thomas asked, why did he get subbed off?
I'm not quite sure. My first thought was like maybe because he wasn't planned to start. I don't know. But yeah. Other than that, I couldn't really tell you, to be honest. I don't know. Badiashile coming off. I mean, we would have probably put it's a bit of a weird one actually because like Chilwell could have come off Badiashile. Badiashile could have had a rest and maybe started against Liverpool. I know he didn't play that great, but still, at centre back. So it's a bit weird when you think about it.
There you go. Neshi, some thoughts on that, or do you think, well, he's the youngest one, it's a tough game, so obviously you're going to take the most inexperienced player off to see out a game?
Yeah, I don't think he should have got subbed off. I agree with Thomas because when he came off, I think Villa were a bit more dangerous and attacking more on that both flanks really. So unless he was tired or we seen something we didn't, he noticed something that we didn't see. But I felt like he should have stayed on the pitch, especially. I don't know, did he play much in the Middlesbrough game?
No, he only came on as well. Like, he didn't start against Middlesbrough.
Exactly. So I just don't see why he got subbed. Like I said, when he came off, I felt like Villa are definitely more threatening on the left and the right.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, it's always tough to say, would that have happened anyway? Even if he stayed on the pitch, it could have been or could have done. But factually, they did seem to get more dangerous after that sub was made. I mean, we'll get to that later, Sky Shooter, when we talk about Pochettino's rating. But I agree. But then again, when you look at the subs, would they have just made us worse sooner? In hindsight, you could also argue that. But anyway, move on to Benoit Badiashile on the other side. As far as I know, his first game at left back, certainly his first game at left back for Chelsea, and very much last minute. It's not like he had, the night to prepare, talk to Chilwell, talk to Colwell, talk to everyone, okay, what do I need to do at left back and everything. He literally found out 5 minutes before the game that he was playing left back. So even though some people were like, a little bit, I mean, I've seen someone in the chat say that, they're concerned, I'm not sure about him, blah, blah, blah. hey, first game at left back and found out 10 minutes before he played at left back that he was playing left back. I think we drastically need to let him off, even if you think he wasn't great today. He had the 95% passing accuracy. He won 1 out of 2 ground duels, 1 out of 2 aerial duels. Now, the only thing is aerial duels, you are massive and you're playing left back. So why you're not winning more of your aerial duels? But 2 out of 3 accurate long balls is also good. I think his passing, especially when he's a centre back, we missed that with him not being fit a lot ever since the end of last season, really. Because it was so short notice and everything, and his first time at left back, I'm going to give him a 6. If it was, say, if Colwell played the same, I'd probably give him a 5. But I think with all the circumstances, I think a 6 is probably ever so slightly more fair. I mean, some people have even said 6.5. Maybe I should say 6.5 to be fair. Pice, would you say 6.5? Do you say 6? What did you make of Badiashile? Again, first game at left back.
Probably 6, to be fair. You know, you're not going to get him bombing forward and making overlaps and stuff, but we had a lot of the ball. He was good in possession, apart from that one moment where he lost it. And I think overall, yeah, pretty solid performance. I'd probably go 6, not 6.5 or above, just because I feel like, you know, he not that he wasn't as good, but just like less involved, I guess. Yeah, I think a 6 is fair. You know, it's our average rating at least. So yeah, I think he was all right. He was all right, especially first game at left back, because I was like, who the hell was going to play left back? Yeah, I think he did okay. You know, he wasn't like exposed 1v1. It was weird because I was a bit worried about Moussa Diaby today, but actually he didn't really do much. So I think credit there to Badiashile as well, and Silva on that side.
Facts. Neshi, 6, is that about fair for Badiashile, or would you potentially go higher, maybe lower?
No, I'll say 6 is the fair score for him because, like you guys rightly pointed out, that it's a left back. Imagine you're a centre back and you never played. I don't think I've ever seen him play left back, and he's and then filled in. And I think he had one shaky moment. I don't know if you guys remember when he lost the ball, tried to dribble. Yeah. That's the only
one that Mason's talking about.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only thing that just maybe could have potentially dropped his score, but I'll say 6. And I love Badiashile. Like, honestly, I think his passing is amazing. His passing ability is crazy. Honestly, the potential there is. How old is he? 21. I still have high hopes for him, and it reminds me a bit like David Luiz. Remember when David Luiz used to punch the balls in from defense? And
yeah. Maybe he doesn't quite have the shooting that David Luiz had, but in passing, yeah, maybe. Oh, well, we shouldn't forget he had that one header, didn't he? Middle of this first half from that, was it a corner or free kick? Whatever we had. He had a header at the far post. He kind of headed it straight at the keeper. I guess he could have done a bit better for it, but I don't think it was bad enough to criticize.
Yeah, that chance was it was pretty hard. The ball didn't have much pace, so he couldn't do much with the header. So I'll definitely go along with you guys. The 6 is definitely
fair dues, mate. Neshi, I'll stick with you, and I'll let you go first. Moises Caicedo. I've a fair few times this season I've said, but he was very basic. Like, not that he does much wrong, but like he just keeps it so simple. He doesn't really do much. Today, I actually thought Caicedo was really good. What about you? And what rating does that entail for you?
I'll give Caicedo a 7. Like, honestly, he's another player who's improved lately. Like, honestly, he's not making any mistakes anymore. I remember that West Ham game, he literally made like 4 or 5 mistakes.
Literally.
Done. We just wasted 115 million. But he's starting to pick up as well. He's a young player. He's getting used to that CDM position as well, because I feel like at Brighton he was slightly more a higher position, more of a CM than holding.
Yeah, I think he just moved more. Like, for us, he's always more like whatever the phase of the game, he's kind of in a similar position. While at Brighton, when they built, he dropped really deep. But then once they got in the final third, he pushed up, if that makes sense. While for us, no matter where we have the ball, he kind of remains in the same area of the pitch.
Exactly. Like, there's so much more to his game than just sitting in there. He's got, honestly, quick feet. He's got a bit of pace about him. He can dribble as well. So there's so much more than him sitting, but he has to do a job right now. And he's probably our best holding midfielder at the moment.
Yeah, at least the one that's fit. I mean, we've never seen Lavia other than that, 42 minutes he played or whatever it was? So, who knows?
I think Lavia would definitely suit that CDM role, but for now, Casado's doing a good job and is improving. And yeah, go with the 7.
Pass. I move over to you. Would you agree with Naishi? Would you go for something different? What did you make of Caicedo today?
I thought he was all right. I felt like he'd give away a few fouls. I think he was all right. Like, nothing bad to say, but yeah, just the fouls. I think sometimes
he gave away 2 fouls, but he conceded 3, as in he was fouled 3 times. So
yeah, he made one where I was like a bit annoyed because I think it was like McGinn or something. It was quite close in. He just sometimes he misses the tackle and just completely swipes the player out, and that's
true.
A little bit annoying. But I'm nitpicking, to be honest. Like, he was good. He played a really nice ball to Sterling, didn't he? Was it Sterling? And then, Timberland boots. Like, he was doing his best Lukaku impressions today.
Literally.
My God, his dribbling was so stinky. So, but can't say they played decent. Rating. It's between a 7 and a 6.5. I'm just trying to think. I'll go 7. I'll go 7. I think it was 7.
Okay. I mean, it leaves us at a 7, but I would actually even go 7.5. I thought he was really good. Also, looking at some stats, again, stats aren't everything. I just want to add them to all of our opinion that we share already. At 95% passing accuracy, 57 out of 60. It's really good. 4 out of 4 long balls is really good too. 6 out of 11 ground duels. Now, it's not amazing, 55%, but it's for him, that's actually quite good, because usually in these streams, when I look at Caicedo's dual stats, he rarely has more than 40%. And today he has 55. So for him, that's pretty good going. Overall, leaves us at a 7, obviously. But yeah, like Naishi said, literally, I think he's been finding his feet more and more recently, which is quite impressive, because obviously, I'm not sure if people are aware, but there's quite a lot of, let's say, political tensions going on back in Ecuador. And, it's maybe not the easiest situation when you have your family over there. Now, that same thing, or to an even more drastic extent, can obviously be said for Mudryk. Another thing that people maybe don't always think about as much as they should. But yeah, I think especially in this scenario, then slowly but surely finding his feet more and more, I think is very good to see. We move on to Enzo Fernandez. Before we rate his performance today, I quickly want to have a quick chat about this. I'm not sure if I highlighted this message or not. No, but there's a lot of debate about where Enzo should be played right now. Because obviously there was earlier in the season, Poch a couple of times almost played him as a 10, or not just almost, actually played him as a 10. Some people say they want him super deep, and look at how great he was last season. I actually think how he played the last few games is how I think he should be played. I think when Enzo is healthy and he doesn't have any hernia issues, and because I think Enzo might not be the fastest, but I think he has an engine. I think he can keep running, not at the pace of Gallagher, but he can keep running. And I think that's what you should do with Enzo. In build-up, you let him drop to help with the build-up. And then he has the legs to, in attack, get involved in attack. He scored a few goals this season already. Like, sure, most of them have been in the cup, so his league stats aren't maybe that amazing. But overall, I don't know how many goals he has, but he's probably like 5. I would guess 5 goals in all comps, maybe 4. I don't know. But I think being involved in attack and defense, basically, literally the definition of a box-to-box midfielder, I think that's what Enzo should be. I literally think he should. Yeah, he should work on his shooting, absolutely. But I think it's perfect if he is involved in attack and in defense. Now, Jazza says here he's a deep line playmaker. I get that, and the similarities and the comparisons to Pirlo, we've all seen that. The problem is football has changed. Football isn't what it once was anymore. And the way Pirlo played, I'm not saying Jorginho is anywhere near as good as Pirlo, but you could see with Jorginho that in certain games, that style of deep line playmaker is amazing. But in other games, that is not what you want. So if you limit Enzo to that, I think it can be so much more than just that, by just allowing him to just do both. Just be why do people think you have to be a defensive or an offensive midfielder? Just be a box-to-box midfielder. Like, some of the best midfielders in history have been proper box-to-box midfielders. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know football has changed and the way build-up is, but like Lampard in certain times, he came back Gerrard, he came back, helped out in build up, and they still got well involved in attack. I think that's how he should be deployed personally. I'll ask Pies first, and then I'll get to Neshi on that before we get to the rating. How do you see this discussion about how Enzo should be deployed, Pies? Because I fully agree, he shouldn't be a 10. But I also don't think he should just be a 6. I think there is more in him than just being a 6.
Yeah, it's a hard one because ideally, you want. Well, obviously the plan was probably to have Caicedo being the DM and Lavia as well, almost like rotating, or maybe all three of them will play at some point. But having them two as like the more defensive options, and then having Enzo go forward a little bit more, because I think last season, like we could see from deeper, he was playing like really good passes, obviously, and we were like, imagine that going forward. You know what I mean? Like imagine that closer to the box where he can pick out like the little, like the little incisive ones, which players don't see, or that type of thing other players don't see, which we have. Kind of like the ball that Chilwell played the other day, like close to the box, really good vision, played it through against Middlesbrough when we scored. But I think overall he should be a bit of both. I agree. It's just hard because I am someone that would like, not no flexibility, but I feel like in midfield, like you need to have your partnership. You need to have, like, you can't be switching things around constantly. I feel like you need to establish something. So it's going to be interesting to see what we do go forward, and obviously what Pochettino does, especially when Lavia comes back. So yeah, I do agree with you though. I feel like he should be a bit of both, but at the same time, very conscious of the fact that I feel like all the best midfields, all like the winning midfields, have an established partnership. And maybe something we're lacking also is like a bit of height in midfield. But I think we've got Carney that can obviously play deeper as well. And we've got a lot of flexibility. So I feel like we've got options to kind of...
How tall is Lavia? Is Lavia taller than Caicedo?
I don't know, but he's not tall. Like, he's not like... I'm talking like, like I feel like every... Like, like a Paulinho or something like that, someone that sort of, not saying we should sign him, but that sort of like stature and presence. Whereas I feel like,
he's pretty much 6 foot though. Like Lavia is not small.
No, but like, I don't see him as a presence in midfield, So
yeah, okay.
I feel like maybe we need to add a little bit of that as well. Like Ugochukwu.
But then again, we also won the league with Cesc and Kante, do you know what I mean?
We did, but over most of the winning teams have like a like a big sort of DM in at least in their squad. I would say, like, I feel like we should.
Who is that for Liverpool right now? Is Endo tall, like the Japanese Tony they signed? I don't think he's tall, is he?
They're not winning the league though, so it's irrelevant.
I wouldn't be sure about that. This whole Klopp leaving thing, I think it's going to put some sort of fire in their belly. I wouldn't be. I don't think it affects much our cup final against them, but I think the league running could be heavily affected by this Klopp situation. But anyway, we'll get to that later.
I think we're in for a pasting on Wednesday. That's probably
what's going to happen. But then also, how many games in a row did we draw against them? Obviously, some of them were cup finals, and then we lost the penalties. But I think it's like 7 games in a row that between us and Liverpool that have ended in a draw. So there's also a good chance there's another draw. There's also a good chance of that. Neshi, I'll get to you with the same question about Enzo. How do you personally feel Enzo should be deployed? There's been a bit of a discussion in the chat in terms of who is Enzo like. Obviously, the whole Pirlo thing. Someone said Iniesta. Someone said Cesc Fabregas. How do you think he should be deployed? I think comparing him to a young Cesc is probably the closest thing, but not to the Cesc that Chelsea had. I think he's closer to like the Arsenal Cesc Fabregas that also did get involved in attack, but drops, to help build. I think he'd be wasted if you only keep him deep and want him to spray some passes. Sure, it's great, but he's so good that I want him to do more than that.
Yeah, I would definitely say I see him as an 8, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I see him as a cam. That's definitely, I don't think that's his best position. And I don't see him as a deep line midfielder, but he can do that job as well. I'll say an 8, between a hybrid between an 8 and a deep line midfielder. So he's like a box-to-box midfielder, and his technical ability is crazy. Left foot, right foot. He can spray 60-yard balls like it's nothing. I play football, and that's hard to spray a ball 60 yards. It really is hard. It's a talent. The only thing is why I don't see him as a cam is because his shooting abilities, he's not quite there. If I'm being completely honest,
Do you think it's ability? Because I think he can shoot. He just doesn't seem to be able to put it on the pitch, if that makes sense. I think his technique isn't bad.
Yeah, his technique's not bad. It's just, I don't know, he doesn't seem to have any power.
He just sold us a dream with that goal at the World Cup, didn't he?
Exactly. But maybe that's something he can work on. But that's the only weakness in his game, is shooting. If he had shooting, if his shooting ability was at, like, let's say Kevin De Bruyne's, we're looking at.
Mate, if you had anything like Kevin De Bruyne, quite frankly, that'd be ridiculous. But yeah, that's true. On tonight, Neshi, what would you give Enzo tonight? Do you think it's about the same as Caicedo, maybe higher, maybe lower? What do you think?
Oh, I think I'll give him a 7 because I can't give him any lower or any higher. I think I'll give him a 7. Both midfielders were good. Enzo was really good defensively as well. He really put a shift in. I remember
He was sprinting around like a madman.
I don't know what's happened to him. Maybe because he's weird off this illness. He's fully fit. He's really going about the pitch. Like I think Villa had a counter attack and he sprinted back and then he made a tackle. I don't know if you got.
Yeah, no, I do. I would really love to see distance covered for all these stats. Those stats usually you find them the next day. It's a bit of a shame that we don't have them for these streams because I think not the distance covered is the be all and end all by any means, but I do think it gives you a little bit of a hint about how much a player tried, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I think a 7 is about right. I'd probably agree. I gave Caicedo a 7.5. I think Enzo was good. Maybe not. I wasn't quite as impressed as I was by Caicedo, but 6 out of 7 long balls is strong. 93% passing accuracy, only misplaced 3 passes is good. Ground duels, 50% is good for him too. Yeah, created the most chances in the match. Now, some other players might have also created 2, but he created 2, so that's pretty good going. I think a 7 is about fair. Price, would you agree with a 7 for Enzo too, or would you give him something different?
No, I was going to give him a 7. Yeah, I think both of them 7 is good.
Very nice. Very nice. We move on. Keep it short and simple. We had a long discussion about Enzo now anyway. Gallagher. Now, some people might disagree with me for this, but I think he was our man of the match. I thought he was brilliant. I know there was maybe 1 or 2 moments where he could have cut it back. There was 1 or 2 moments where he maybe, with a bit more composure, he can maybe get into a position where he can finish or shoot and score himself. But I just don't think without Gallagher today, any of our game plan works. Because Gallagher, sometimes it felt like when Madueke couldn't be bothered to press, Gallagher was sprinting over there. When Sterling couldn't be bothered to press, Gallagher was sprinting over there. Now, Palmer also did his job, absolutely. But Gallagher was just everywhere. He was sprinting up. He was closing their keeper down. He was closing their centre-backs down. He was closing their left-back down. He was closing their DMs down. He was reading it so well when he should press who. I thought he was brilliant. Also on the ball, like that turn he made in the box was outrageous. I know it's only 1 turn and the cross or the follow cut back, whatever, didn't, find a teammate. I get that. But the turn, the cross turn was so outrageous. I'm like, this is Conor Gallagher I'm watching here. Since when does he do turns like this? It was unbelievable. And I've only seen it back, like in hindsight. I didn't realize it when we did this stream a couple of days ago at the Middlesbrough game when he assisted that 5th goal for Palmer. How he set it up in the beginning, also with that insane turn. I don't know who taught Gallagher to turn like this, but I love it. I'm a big fan. I'm going to give him an 8. Now, people think still high, maybe, fair enough. But I thought he was really, really good today, and I think he was kind of the crux of why we were as good. People saying they thought Caicedo was man of the match, that's maybe fair enough. It was between those 2 for me as well. Once we exclude Petrovic, sorry. But yeah, I was really happy with Gallagher, and I'm going to give him an 8. Pice, you're not now. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily the biggest fan of Conor Gallagher, and say Mason Mount had not been sold, I would not bat 2 eyelids at Conor Gallagher potentially being sold. But because he is gone, I need someone. So now that is Gallagher. And again, he shouldn't be starting every game. And I said this after Middlesbrough. I thought it was a good decision to bench him for that game because that game didn't need Gallagher. But a game like today, where it was about intensity, and also Liverpool on Wednesday, that will need Gallagher. And for those types of games, Gallagher makes us a better team, in my opinion. I'm not sure how you see that, but also I don't know how you'd rate him today. Jay said 5.5 or 6. That's mental to me, but fair dues, each to their own. How do you see it, Pies?
I'll go 6.5. I would have gone
quite a lot
higher,
lower than me, but there you go.
but his end product today and some of his decision making were quite poor, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe I've gone a tad high. You're right, but yeah.
I'm sorry, but that cutback, he should have played that cutback to Cole Palmer. He didn't look up. There's nothing more than I hate when players go to the box and they just put it in the box. They don't even look. And he didn't even look. And that I can't get away with that one. It's still annoying me because it's the most simple goal ever. Like, really, it really is. But yeah, I agree with you. In terms of like the game plan and how he, like, this is why he's Pochettino's most important player. And like, a lot of people are like, well, you know, if Gallagher's our most important player, then that means, you know, we're finished because Gallagher's, you know, like he's not very good on the ball and we can't have a runner as our most important player. But at the end of the day, like it's a system and Gallagher works for Pochettino and he's also helping a lot of other players by the work rate he puts in. Like he sets the standards and he's got better on the ball this season. Like let's not forget that he definitely has got better on the ball because I honestly, Gallagher used to be one of my least favourite players and you know, he's played quite well this season. And even when he doesn't play well, he's still tolerable. Like he was tolerable today. You know, he just didn't have good final decision making. Whereas, you know, like last season,
Do you not think that a lot of his like crosses, that they were actually good crosses, and it's more about the people in the box that they didn't manage to get on the end of those? Because that's what I felt.
One of them he did. It was one from the right hand side where he put a really good ball in the box. I can't remember what minute. It was somewhere in the second half. But the Cole Palmer one, I was like, nah, he should have looked up there. But yeah, I do agree with you on that sense.
Honestly, I don't have that one specifically in mind. Maybe I'll see it later, but I'm sure you're right.
It's hard. Like, I wish, you know, I could remember all the minutes and stuff. Maybe I'll have to start writing notes. But
yeah.
It's I'll probably give him a 6.5 today. And I agree. I think he should start against Liverpool. We're going to need that energy and pressing. Even like winning little fouls and stuff like that. Like, it's going to be a very tough game on Wednesday. So, yeah, he works against teams that, you know, try and play out from the back, and we're pressing high. And you know, even the guy that I was talking to, the Aston Villa fan, he was like, you know, it's good you played him today because we struggle against teams that really press us high, and it's like that's perfect. Like, you have to give credit for Pochettino because last game I thought Gallagher was going to start, and obviously was it Palmer who started in the middle? I think was it? Yeah, and that worked out better because we were playing a low block, right? But yeah, today was perfect, and Wednesday will be good for Gallagher as well. I think he should start that game.
Absolutely. I tweeted during the game, honestly, sometimes I feel like Conor Gallagher's body doesn't produce lactate because I cannot understand how he just keeps sprinting. Like, whenever you see Gallagher, he's either standing somewhere because nothing's happening, or he's sprinting full pelt somewhere. And I can't. Like, it's a bit like Kante. I'm not saying he's anywhere near as good as Kante, but in terms of this persistent, permanent sprinting, it's just unbelievable to me. I just don't understand how these people do it. But Naishi, I went 8, maybe over the top a little bit. Maybe I should have said 7.5. Fair enough. Pice went 6.5. What would you give Gallagher today?
I'll give him a 7.5 if I'm being honest. I'm more inclined to agree with you, Laurenz. Like, Gallagher is so underrated. He really is underrated. I know he's probably not as technical as maybe as Enzo and Caicedo, but the guy, you can tell he's passionate about Chelsea. The way, like I don't know, he doesn't get tired. It's like he's got 100 lungs. I don't know how he sprints around the pitch all the time, like constantly. He doesn't. I think there's only one match I've seen him tired, and that was that Arsenal game, that 2-2 game. I think he was a bit tired in that game, but that's the only time I've literally seen him tired. The guy's got so much energy, and like you said, Laurenz, I think with that ball, if there's a striker who's really sprinting into the box, that's a good ball. But I do agree with that other cutback, what Pi said. He should have looked up there. That annoyed me a bit, if I'm being completely honest. But it was quite surprising he didn't look up because he'd done that in the last game, Middlesbrough, with Palmer. So, yeah, but I would definitely go with 7.5. And as Pies mentioned, he's great for pressing for teams that want to play high and want to play out. Gallagher's the man for it. He'll press especially with Palmer up front and a good press from the wingers as well.
Yeah.
We will teams that want to play out of the back a lot of problems. So I'll go with 7.5 for me.
Fair dues. Overall, it leaves us at a 7.3, which I guess we round up to a 7.5, even though it looks like we ignored Pice. We didn't. Don't worry. Let's keep the two misses, let's call them that today, for last, and let's do Raheem Sterling first. A typical Raheem Sterling at Chelsea performance, I feel, where he has moments where you're like, but you are good, man. Like there are moments, like he had 2 or 3 dribbles, so I'm like, boy, you are good. When you're on it, when you want to, you're good. But there's so many other moments, like Pice touching it. I mean, some of the touches he had today, I'm like, mate, what? Like, rob all sorts of people. I don't care. But don't rob Lukaku of his flipping Timberlands, man. Like, that's the last thing you should be robbing. Like, I don't understand. Like, how can you be this good of a player, this experienced, and then have a touch like a flipping trampoline on your boot? I don't understand. But, hey, there you go. Overall, could I go below average? Maybe. But, I mean, he completed the most dribbles, but it was still only 4 out of 9. But then it's still 4 completed dribbles. That's still pretty good going. I haven't looked at Madueke's yet. How many did he have? 2. But he only attempted 4 and Sterling attempted 9. So I guess there is that. Jules is all right, 45%. I'm going to say 5.5. I'm just below average. I'm going to go because he could have done better on some things. But he wasn't the one that cost us the win today. That was 2 others, 1 other mainly. I mean, there was moments where he could have squared, they could have cut it back. But I also liked how in moments where he tried to like keep the ball and then go for the shot, unfortunately they got blocked. But I don't mind it. I don't mind it. Like, yeah, I didn't hate Sterling today. I'm almost tempted to say 6, but I'll say 5.5 for now. Nation, I'll let you go first. Sterling, what would you give him?
I would give him a 6 if I'm being honest. Yeah, I think he was all right. He was decent. And with Sterling, the guy, if I'm being completely honest, when the team sheet comes out and I look at all the players, I would say Sterling is the most threatening and the most productive player. But you'd expect so much more for a player that scored 100 plus Premier League goals, and you'd expect a lot more consistency as well. That's what he really struggles. And honestly, I love Sterling until that ball he never squared in that other game against Wolves.
Yeah.
Honestly, he's been in my bad books since that day, but he kind of made up for it in the last game and the last few. And I believe he made a very good ball to Palmer, if you guys remember, when Palmer ran from deep, and then Palmer then cut it back to Madueke. I don't know if you guys remember.
Wasn't that Enzo that played in Palmer there? Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong moment. It could well be. You could well be right.
Exactly. I think he had moments in the game, and for me, I think 6 is fair, and go with the 6.
Fair dues. So a 5.5 and a 6 so far. Pice, I think you're going to go maybe even lower than me, but I think you're going to go below 6. Am I right in thinking that?
Maybe I'm going to go the same as you, or 6. It's just today.
Shall we give the chat a poll?
Yeah, today for me, it's not like you play terrible. He's just frustrating.
Yeah.
It's just like
especially because we know how good he could be.
You tell you what, I always give Sterling a really low rating when he doesn't run at people, because I find that so annoying. Because Sterling throughout the years has been a guy that you get the ball to him and he just runs at the fullback. He might not produce a goal every time or assist, but that's the one thing I want to see in general from our wingers. And today, he was running at players. He definitely was. There was so many times where he got the ball and he was running at Cash, their right back, but. Yeah, just some of the dribbles and stuff like that. There was the Caicedo one where he put the ball over the top and he tried to cut in. You remember that goal against Blackburn and a couple others where he cuts in from the left and he puts it top corner. Why aren't you shooting like that? It's not it's like hesitation almost. And I don't know why, because it should be sort of
lack of confidence, isn't it? If he was at City,
yeah.
Even right now, if you put him back at City or in the Liverpool team, he'd be way better than he is for us. But because
I'm
he's
just like,
surrounded by so many
so-
young players, so much inconsistency, it's obviously also affects him. As
He
much as it
turns
should.
so quick. Like he turns inside so quick, and he gets a shot like a split second to shoot. And I feel like he is a good instinctive shooter, but sometimes he like when you think he's gonna shoot, he stops, and then like he tries to dribble a little bit more, and then he loses the ball, and it's like 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 I mean, like it's quite frustrating to watch him. So yeah, it's just what it is at the moment. Unfortunately, he's been like this for a while.
Unfortunately, it has, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I've given you a poll in the chat for Raheem Sterling's rating between a 5.5 and a 6. So please place your vote, and we'll come back to it in a little bit. We move on to Noni Madueke. Yeah, what can I say? What I like about Madueke, what he's so different at than say Mudryk, right? Mudryk, I really like Mudryk. People know that, but Mudryk, he like does 3 things in a game. Madueke is the complete opposite. Madueke will try 50 times, and yeah, it might only come off 3 or 4, but he will keep flipping, trying. He will keep demanding the ball. He will also keep getting the ball. That's the one thing I don't really understand, why he gets the ball so much more than Mudryk. I don't know if it's, maybe I need to try to pay more attention. I think it's a bit difficult on TV. That's something maybe you can see more in the stadium when you see everything and not the camera panning around constantly. But he gets the ball so much, and he tries so much, like in terms of taking players on, crossing the ball. Yeah, so often it doesn't work, I know, but he tries, and that is what I do like about him. But I mean, crosses today, 0 out of 5, unfortunately. Dribbles, I felt he attempted more than 4, I'll be honest, but the stat says 2 out of 4 successful. 2 out of 7 ground duels, that, again, in my memory, very different to this, but apparently 2 out of 7. So this is where stats are sometimes either misleading or they prove your eye test wrong. It's one of the two, isn't it? But obviously he missed arguably the biggest chance that we had. Now, I'm not saying it was easy because he was sprinting at a full pelt and he had to, because otherwise the defender would have got there ahead of him. And he for the cutback from Palmer. But he should score it anyway, shouldn't he? There was this one where he tried a curl and he put it just wide, but the ref gave a foul because his hand touched the guy in the face and he fell over like a little something. It's really difficult for me. Very similar to Sterling in terms of, in the grand scheme of things, very different how they get to their around 6 rating. But overall, I think it concludes at about the same. I'm just about going to give him a bit more than Sterling. I know he missed a bigger chance, but I just felt he did more. Maybe that's not even fair. Maybe Sterling did equally as much. Maybe I'll raise my Sterling rating to 6 anyway, depending on what you guys say in terms of the vote. But I'll give Noni just about a 6. Maybe I should say 5.5. I'm not sure. I could be convinced of other things. Nashi, I'll let you go first. What would you give Madueke? And do you agree with what I'm saying? That in terms of, yes, it might not always work out, but he gets the ball so much and he tries every time, taking people on, crossing. He tries something every time. He never just passes it backwards, does he?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I really like Madueke. He's like you said, he's always tries and he's always puts himself available for balls. Like you get certain players that kind of hide and shy away from the ball. He always wants the ball. He always wants to take on players. I just feel sometimes when he gets a dangerous position, he cuts back in too much. Like I'm like, just put the ball in the box. Like sometimes, but I really like him, and I feel in comparison to Mudryk, I think he's a lot more productive than Mudryk. Like you said, I like Mudryk because I think the potential is there. But Mudryk, like, he literally goes missing for like long periods in games, and you won't. He sometimes maybe doesn't shy away from the ball, or his positioning, or the team doesn't know his game very well. But if I compare the two, Madueke is always available. He's always trying things. He's always trying. He's always taking a man on, and with that miss he had, that was difficult. As you said, he was literally running full pelt. He just wanted to get the ball on target. Really, but it's just Martinez is a great keeper, and
He really is.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think the shot was perfect because I feel like if he tried to go across goal, he would have went wide. So I'll give him I'll go along with what you said. A 6 is fair for me.
Fair dues. Pice then finished that Noni Madueke rating off for us. First of all, do you agree with the 6? Do you not? And in general, do you agree with our assessment in that sense that he's almost the polar opposite of Mudryk in that sense? It's like when Mudryk does something, it's pretty much always dangerous, which isn't the case for Madueke, but he just keeps on trying something and never goes missing like Mudryk does.
Yeah, it's very weird how he gets the ball so much and Mudryk doesn't, because like it's not like he doesn't call for it. Like he doesn't like do hand signals or anything. Like
No,
it's very weird. I don't know whether we just play down that side more. I'm not sure, but it is very strange. But yeah, today I agree with the 6. I think he was good. I was gonna go higher, but obviously the missed chance, which I think, to be fair, he should have probably maybe even taken another touch and composed himself a little bit more, because I feel like he rushed.
He had time for that.
No,
we're talking 2 different chances now. I forgot about the first one you're talking about. You're talking early when Palmer played him through and he was 1-on-1 with the keeper. I'm talking about the one where Palmer cut it back to him and he was kind of storming onto it, and then
I remember the one I was talking about. I thought that was
No, that's what that one's true as well. Actually, I forgot about that. Maybe I should push it 6.5 because I forgot. Well, or I should lower it because he bottled that one too.
Yeah.
But you go and speak. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think the one I was talking about, he should have taken another touch. He rushed it a bit, hit it straight at Martinez.
Could have squared it as well to Gallagher. No, that was Palmer who could have squared it. Sorry, my bad. Ignore me. Go on.
Yeah, so I'll probably go over 6, but I'll have to say though, one thing I've noticed, he is very strong as well. He was holding players off so much today, and he's so.
That's why I was surprised at the ground duel stat 2 out of 7. I'm like, that's
I don't know. I honestly, I'd love to see if you could go back and see those, because I felt like he was holding everyone off, and he was really good at keeping us the ball, and he was turning players constantly, and he was also getting double teamed. He was definitely getting double teamed. There was a couple of times where he just he would get to the edge of the box, he'd run down the line and beat players, and then the cutback wasn't the best. But we just, again, that just goes back to the point, we did lack a striker in there today. So yeah, I don't know. I think on another day he gets at least an assist, but yeah, I like him. I'm a fan of Madueke. I'll give him a 6, as I said. Yeah, probably.
The one thing I want to say on him: please work on your weak foot, mate. I know it's a bit of a thing that a lot of left footers have, that their right foot.
But then he scored that goal in Luton on his weak foot.
You're right. He did, but on average, I still feel like his right foot just ain't. Maybe it's more for crossing than it is for finishing. But he
had a terrible shot. He had a terrible shot on his right foot, edge of the box from a corner, I think. And he's been working on that, because he did extra, he was doing one-to-one training. I saw an interview where he was saying, he was doing extra training on shooting and stuff after the Luton game, and we had that recent break, didn't we? 12 days or whatever, and he was, I don't know what country he was in, but he posted it on his Instagram showing he was doing the drills one-on-one, shooting. So, at least he's working on it.
Absolutely. And now we get to, for me, the most difficult player to rate today, because Cole Palmer, almost first and foremost, cost us that win today, because he should have had a hat-trick. The amount of huge chances he had today was ridiculous. Martin has literally kicked it at him. He had the perfect opportunity for a volley, and he just missed the ball. He missed the ball. What are you doing, man? He was 1-on-1 with the keeper. He bottled that too. But also, he was phenomenal, if that makes sense. He missed those huge chances. But outside of those 2 huge chances, I thought he was absolutely brilliant. So I don't really know what rating to give him. I'm really struggling. He had 3 out of 4 dribbles. I thought he was really quick and agile, because my one issue with him when he's on the wing is often I feel like he's just about not quick enough to be a top winger. But 3 out of 4 successful dribbles. At least he had 1 successful cross, unlike all the others. 2 out of 3 long balls is strong as well. 3 out of 4 ground duels is really good. But the misses, man. The misses. I'm going to give him a 6.5. So he just about gets an above average rating, because I thought he was really good. But the misses were also so bad, I could also give him a 3. I'll be honest. Because how does he do this? Away at Middlesbrough, misses all the chances he finds. Then 3 days ago against Middlesbrough, he scores everything like the most composed man you've ever seen. And then today, he goes back to where he can't hit a barn door. It's ridiculous. I don't understand. I understand because he's young and that's the issue. But it's frustrating. And actually, do you see it the same, that he missed obviously the big chances, but other than that, he was really good?
Yeah, I'd agree on that. But those missed chances were really big chances. You know what I mean? Literally 1-on-1 with the keeper. And I almost don't like him playing in that position because I love Palmer so much.
Yeah.
I don't want him to miss those chances so that it kills his confidence. You know what I mean? Like, more inclined to say 5.5. I'm sorry. Yeah. And I'm sorry. Like, in terms of those chances, they'll really, like, he basically, he could have, like, put us into the next round with just putting those chances away. And I believe one of those chances, he could have actually squared it to Gallagher.
Yeah.
Like, with Palmer's ability and a vision, he definitely seen that. He just probably chose to shoot. But you can't downplay this guy's abilities, talent. He's my favorite player. In terms of the whole Chelsea squad, he's my favorite player. He kind of excites me like Hazard. How Hazard used to excite me.
That's a big call, but fair.
Honestly, I'm really saying that. I know it might be a big statement to some people, but I'm really have high hopes for him, and I think he can go a long, long way in the game. So, but it was just
phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a poor game from him today, so I'd give him a 5.5. Unfortunately,
that's all right. No, I think it's fair overall. I think it's fair. I want to say just one thing, right? I think Nizar Kinsella was that tweeted it, and I fully agree with it. Cole Palmer almost has a superpower that he makes opponents pass to him. Like the amount of times he's in and around the box, and somehow the opponents just pass it straight to him. Like Longley did it today, Martinez did it today against Middlesbrough. They kind of did it. Like this happens so often that he has to do something right. It's not just luck, but somehow he manages to do that. Pice, a 6.5 from me, a 5.5 from Naishi. What would you give Palmer today? And do you agree with the assessment that, well, the finishing was dreadful, but outside of that, it was actually good?
Yeah, he was good. Outside the finishing, you got to go quite a low rating. I'll probably go. I'm trying to think. It's either a 6 or a 5.5. I'm going to deduct him points because he would have got a really high rating, like 8 or above, otherwise, because I think he was really good. I mean the goalies kicking it at him could just be like really good positioning. Also, like it could be a scary coincidence, but it is weird how it's happened like twice now, especially with Martinez, because usually he's a top goalie, and he's did that today. I was like, a couple of times. So yeah, Palmer probably gets a 6 from me. The second one where it came down was really poor. I don't know why he tried to hit that first time. Could have had a touch. And then volleyed it.
Still just hit it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like it just he like tried to side foot it, didn't it? It was weird.
Yeah, that is true. Just smack it, man. It
was weird.
All of us have played enough football, right? If you get a bouncing ball in front of you, there's nothing more satisfying than trying to smack a bouncing ball in front of you, right? Yeah. And he was so close to goal. The likelihood of skying it was quite slim. And if he just goes high, he's almost certainly going to beat the keeper. So just smack it. I don't understand what he was doing, but maybe these are the things that happens to the very talented player sometimes. Maybe it's also because he missed a few before. He didn't want to like ruin it, but then he ruined it. So that's how
the bit of play where like he got down the line and cut it back, and then Moreno got there before Madueke. That was just like ridiculous. Like like how did he get out of that situation? Get to the edge of the box?
Did the defender touch it before Madueke? That one.
Yeah, he did. He got there before, man. Yeah, he did, 100%.
So that was the chance I was talking about earlier for Madueke.
No, Madueke didn't get there. It was good anticipation, but yeah, it did a couple like that. Obviously, he should have had an assist to Madueke as well with the one I was talking about, where he played it across. I mean, it's tough. I don't want to go too hard on him because he's just been so good this season. But again, today, it is frustrating. He should have won us the game, to be fair.
Yeah, and Bobby is not wrong. Certain other players, if they play the same game and have these misses, I could say Kai Havertz, they would be getting zeros. But
I don't think they play as well though. Like
maybe not. But let's just pretend they did play as well, right? But missed the same chances. But the thing is, obviously, because Palmer's already scored so much this season, you're like, as much as it's frustrating that he missed them, you're almost more willing to let them off because I'm like, well, I know you can score. It happened
and he's
today.
Not a striker.
You're not a striker, but that to me that doesn't really matter. He's our top goal scorer, so it doesn't matter. Like he was 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper also 3 days ago against Middlesbrough, even though he didn't play striker. So that wasn't necessarily, I don't know. For me, that is the reason why he missed the chances. And yeah, but anyway, yeah. Maybe we let him off a bit more because of how well he's done, but I understand.
Do you not think it does something like psychologically though after those misses centrally against Middlesbrough, like in the first leg? Do you not think like he may think he's young as well? He might think, oh shit, like he might feel more under pressure centrally.
Maybe, yeah, maybe that's a valid point. Absolutely, but then obviously he scored 2 good goals last game, right? So you'd think the confidence could be back up, no?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought the first one was composed, like he had a lot of time, which was good.
Yeah.
And the second one, it was centrally, but like I would have backed him to score a cutback today, but yeah, it was just
you didn't get it.
Yeah, didn't get it.
That is the unfortunate part. I'll just write down the subs, which was obviously Chile coming on for Gilchrist. Oh, not for Badiashile. Shouldn't write him there. Came on for Gilchrist, then obviously playing at left back. Mudryk and Sterling. Mudryk and Broja coming on for Madueke and Sterling in the 77th minute. And then just before the end, Conor Gallagher came on for Enzo Fernandez. I don't think any of them played long enough or did enough to really say much about them. The only thing was Chile was fantastic against Middlesbrough the other day. Today he came on. I'm not going to say he made us worse, but he didn't add anything. I didn't see him once in attack. And defensively, it was arguably a bit more open because he obviously tried to attack, but didn't really manage to get involved. Or we didn't manage to keep the ball well enough towards the end of the game like that. But I want to touch on something that you tweeted, Pice, about Mudryk, because you know that I like him. You said he had 4 touches, right? I didn't even see him having 4. I literally remember him having 1 touch. He received 1 pass and he passed it off first time. That's all I remember from him. He had apparently 2 passes. Sure, he completed both of them. But it's a real issue to me. Like, I know he's played very little games at senior level, but he's 23. He's older than most players in the squad. I do find it concerning how he keeps going missing in games. Like, this is a serious issue that he needs to work on. And this is not just a Chelsea thing. Like, even in under 21s games for Ukraine, this happened a few times. Even for the first team games of Ukraine, this happened a few times. Now, I don't know if it happened for Shakhtar. I've only paid attention to him since he's come to Chelsea. But this happens too much. And again, I don't know what the issue for this is. Does he need more instructions? Does he need better coaching? Maybe a bit of that too. But I don't even think you can say it's because he doesn't demand the ball enough. For example, against Middlesbrough in the first half, I noticed a lot. He was moaning. He was annoyed when Chilwell didn't pass on the ball, when Enzo didn't pass on the ball. Like, there was many occasions where he was kind of a bit annoyed that he didn't get the ball. So it to me, that doesn't seem like he's not asking for it enough. But if he's asking for it, that makes it even more weird that he's never getting it. Like, that makes it arguably even more concerning. Like, why isn't he getting it? Now, today, obviously, he barely touched the ball. And last game, he was really poor. But I felt before that, since he won us that, or got us that equalizer against Newcastle, and eventually we won on penalties, there was a period where he was really good. Every time he played, he was dangerous. He was doing things. But now it's almost like falling to pieces again. In my opinion, poor man management, because the manager keeps playing him, plays well, doesn't play next game. That doesn't do well for a young player that needs confidence, in my opinion. And that's poor man management, in my opinion. But yeah, it is a bit concerning for me. But Pice, I'll let you speak on it first. The terrible body language. I'm not sure if I agree with that, Vic, but everyone has their own opinion. How do you explain your concerns here? Because, I mean, you're probably going to say similar things to what I just said, but how can you explain why he goes missing like this? Because I just don't have an explanation.
Neither do I, and that's why I put that tweet out.
Yeah.
I basically said, like, it's like he needs to work on it, but it could also be, a tactical thing or an other players thing, meaning our other players don't pass him the ball and get him involved enough. But I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, get yourself involved. You know what I mean? Like, drop deeper, go and pick up the ball. Like, if Chilwell's got the ball, like, I'm not saying be Hazard, but remember when Hazard didn't get the ball, the very rare time he didn't get the ball.
Yeah.
The one thing he used to do was just like literally he'd take the ball off other players. He'd go next to them and just, like, give me the ball.
Give it to me.
Like, yeah, like I want him to take
See,
that.
this is where I think he's almost like listening to instructions too much. Like he's told, be on the left, keep the width. And then when he doesn't see the ball, he should be doing exactly what you say. But he's then so adamant to stick to instructions because he doesn't want to upset the manager and, not lose his spot over this, but
I don't know if he's got the license to be Mudryk, because I think being Mudryk is getting the ball and just almost like being Sterling, running down the line, but doing it with a lot more talent, like instinctual things as well. When he gets the ball, like on the half turn and stuff like that, like he can produce.
But also, like, just make more runs. Like he just make runs. You're so fast. Just run. Enzo will find you eventually, but he never runs. He just stands because he wants. I still firmly believe that at Shakhtar he got used to everybody passing the ball to him anyway. But because he's so fast, what they did at Shakhtar is they passed it and then he ran. But that doesn't work like that at a top level. You need to start the run for your teammates to see the run and pass to you. You can't just stand there and say, pass it to me and I'll run after it. I get the logic, but how do you expect the player's brain to, like, in the corner of the eye click and say, oh, he's running, I pass to him quickly? Because, like Kevin De Bruyne said this in an interview. Remember when Kevin De Bruyne came back from his injury and had that wonder assist for Bob, right, in the last minute at Newcastle? He said, well, if Bob doesn't make that run, I can't play that pass. And when he said that, I'm like, someone needs to show Mudryk this clip. Like, you need to make the runs. You're not going to get it all the time. And I'm not saying turn into Werner and just run for the sake of it. But you need to make more runs, offer yourself up like that, because you're so quick, man. Just get in front of goal. You're quick and you can shoot. But hey, it's a tricky one. Neshi, quickly, what are your thoughts on this and why Mudryk has these struggles?
Yeah, I can't explain it either, guys, honestly, because I don't know if it's a tactical thing. I don't know if it's a lack of game knowledge. I don't know really what it is, or if it's a fitness issue. It doesn't look like it's a fitness issue because it's not like he's breathing heavy or anything.
No. If anything, he's too fit. If anything,
yeah, he's going to the gym a lot. But the thing is, I'm starting to notice even the players are starting to get frustrated with him. There's a few players of like Chilwell. I think there was I don't know if you guys remember when I think Villa had a free kick and they quickly passed it off and Chilwell was complaining at Mudryk, and then Thiago Silva looked like he was complaining towards that side. Don't know if that was towards Chilwell or Mudryk. But
that one was towards Chilwell where he definitely had a go at
I thought he
Chilwell.
had a go at Enzo, unless we're talking about a different moment here. You know, where McGinn nearly scored at the end from the cross.
Yeah.
He skipped past Enzo. At least, well, I didn't see who he was complaining about, did I? But my commentator was like, oh, even Thiago Silva was having a go at Enzo. I'm like, all right. but maybe he was complaining about someone else. But yeah, it's annoying. But Pies, you know this better than I do and better than most of us do. From what I hear, he is really good in training. Even the clips you see, he smashes balls in like left, right, and center. And I'm like, how can you be good in training and then the teammates not trust you to get the ball? So there must be something odd that they don't trust him to get the ball. It's just weird.
Yeah, he's so raw as well. So, like, I guess this is why I feel like it's kind of a tactical thing because I just feel like he seems a bit limited. Like, he doesn't have the room to make the mistakes. Whereas, like, if you heard Cole Palmer was like, oh, Pochettino gave me the license and the freedom to make mistakes. He gives me the license to, try again and again and again. Whereas, like, if you have two players like that in attack, then I don't know if it works as well, But I feel like you have to give Mudryk that license. And I feel like the team need to start, like, when Mudryk starts, give him the ball. Like, honestly, he needs to have more. Because even when he has good games, right? what do we say about him? We say
the ball every time.
We say like he had a good game because he had like 3 or 4 good moments.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like he needs to have 6, 7, 8 good moments. you know, and that doesn't mean goals or assists or big chances created. It means like affecting the attacking play, like Cole Palmer does every game. You know.
Yeah.
And that's why I do think it may be like a tactical thing. I feel like maybe he feels restricted a little bit, but also maybe the fear of making too many mistakes. And as you said, like getting dropped or whatever, like, I don't know, like you don't even really know if you talk to him, I guess. But
yeah,
it does. Those are the sort of theories that go around in my head because I just don't see how a player looks so sort of, as I said, even in the games where he plays well, he's still, we don't say he ghosts because he has those moments, but he does ghost. He still ghosts. Like, he doesn't get the ball enough.
Yeah. It's a tough one, isn't it? Like, I don't know.
Like, what was the game where we played at home and he had that, like he did like a chop and he shot from distance and it went just wide.
Brighton.
I can't remember the game, but yeah. Brighton, was it?
Yeah, but remember that game? Like, that was like, I think it was 40th minute and that was his first like good moment that he had the ball. I was like, how is that possible? Like, it's so fucking annoying because I don't know the root cause.
I mean, there's a lot of people that I know. Some people say it for a joke, but some people mean it. Like they're like, loan him out, guys. He's 23 and he costs 62 million. You're not loaning out a 23-year-old that costs 62 million. That's not happening. Like Mudryk is not getting loaned out. He's either making it or he's getting sold. Those are the two options. There's no other option. But yeah, let's finish this off with a rating for Pochettino, shall we? Let's put him with Petrovic. We usually put him with the goalkeeper. Pice, sorry. I'll let you go first. What would you give Poch today?
Decent lineup. Terrible in-game management, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Should have made subs way earlier. I don't know why. I know they didn't work, but I still think he should have made the subs earlier.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if you spoke to him, he would say, well, I knew they wouldn't work. So I guess then fair enough.
I mean, just from watching the game, I was like, about 60th minute, I was like, right, yeah, get a striker on. Like, sometimes you look at the game and I feel like we can all agree what we needed. And it's like, okay, so how does the manager not see that sort of thing? I feel like that was the sort of game today. But yeah, I feel like we played quite well. All in all, I'd probably, especially because the missed chances aren't on him, like, you know what I mean? Like, when there's chances like that, it's just like, okay, what can you do? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to give you a low rating for that. I'd probably say like I'd say a 6, probably. A 6, I think. Result, you know, as well, 0-0. Yeah, I think 6 is fair.
There you go. Sounds reasonable. Neshi, what would you say for Poch?
Yeah, I would agree with Pies. Yeah, I think his in-game management wasn't that great, and he needs to work on that. There's a lot of errors he makes. His lineups are not too bad, if I'm being honest. Especially, except for the beginning of the season when he kept playing Chilwell left winger, and then.
Otherwise the 10, yeah, those two are all, but otherwise it's all right. Yeah, I agree. But at the same time, I'm not even sure if we can praise or criticize his lineups because 95% of the time his lineups are forced on him because of all the injuries. So he's not even choosing much. It's like whoever's fit plays.
Exactly, that's the thing. This maybe will not be fair on him on that side of things, but I'd say I would definitely agree with Pies. I think 6 is fair. I don't think any higher.
There you go. Yeah, I was maybe thinking like 6.5 or whatever, but at the end of the day, that kind of leaves us at the same thing. Anyway, so I just go along with the 6. Just to quickly react to Vic here said in the chat, but we loaned Torres eventually. Well, we loaned a lot of players eventually. We also loaned Hakim Ziyech and all sorts of other players, but those are different kinds of loans. Yeah, we may loan him in 2 years when we can't sell him and we want to. Then we might loan it, but not a loan to develop and improve it. That's not going to happen anymore. But ladies and gentlemen, it's about time we wrap this one up. Unfortunately, we have to go into a replay. I'm not sure when the date for that will be set. But see, on the one hand, I'm like, oh, the replay is annoying. But on the other hand, I'm like, we're not in Europe. Why are we crying about an extra game? We shouldn't really. But because of all of the injuries, any extra game is kind of an issue. But hey, who knows? Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap this one up. First of all, please do check out Pice's website, londonsfirst.com, as well as his Twitter, CFC Pice. You all follow him probably already anyway. But if you don't, link is down in the description. I'm honestly not sure if Naishi wants his socials to be shared. I'll check. I'll ask him after, and then either the link, it will be down in the description, or it won't be. We'll see. But Naishi, thank you so much for coming on. Pice, thank you so much for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button on your way out. That would be massively appreciated. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up the chills, upwards and onwards, and we will see you next time.